5 ways this podcast will make you a better lover, otherwise known as Desire and the Secret to BuzzFeed's video success. And Netflix fires a bullet to the heart of theatrical distribution with their first ever self-produced original movie, a sequel to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. This is episode 4 of Media Unplugged, the podcast that goes behind the spin to reveal what's really happening in media.
Media Unplugged with Tom Asacker and Mark Ramsey.
Welcome to Media Unplugged. I'm Mark Ramsey.
And I'm Tom Asacker.
Tom, we got a couple of great topics for today. The first one came from you. 5 ways this podcast will make you a better lover. Did you like my title, by the way?
Yeah, that wasn't the title I sent you. I like yours better.
Well, my title, I'm trying to learn from the article that you sent me. The article was called The Secret to BuzzFeed's Video Success, Data. Data. And this article was an interview with the executive producer of BuzzFeed Video, a guy named Andrew Gauthier. I assume he pronounces it the French way. Gauthier. And he talked about how they come up with BuzzFeed has this amazing track record that every video they put out goes viral. Every video is as huge as every other video they put out. Here we've got a world of people desperately thinking that they can take whatever thing they want to publish, add some special spice to it, and make it viral. And here BuzzFeed hit after hit after hit after hit. And the article was about how they go about doing that, and what it really came down to was being sensitive to their audience and being inquisitive with regard to data. And you take it even a level deeper.
Yeah, I don't think data is the best D word to describe what they're doing or what the formula is. I mean, the headline should probably have read The Secret to BuzzFeed's Video Success, Desire. Because, listen, I looked today and there's a video called Australians Taste Test American Sweets. It has over 400,000 views. Yesterday was dogs versus peanut butter, and it was slow motion video clips of dogs eating or really struggling to eat peanut butter set to classical music. Now, this is day 1 of the video. There were 350,000 views. And then I look at my TED Talk that's been online for 3 months, and it has like a little over 5,000 views, right? So obviously they know more about feeding people's hungers with these videos than I possibly could imagine doing my TED Talk.
Well, what is it that they're doing right then? How are they tapping into desire from your perspective?
Listen, this is classic. Look at people's behaviors to determine people's desires, and then predict their future behaviors based on that information. So they've got a bunch of people, I think it's 40 people in their group, and they're just on the internet all day long looking at what people are sharing, what they're reacting to, what people think is funny, and they take that information and they say, if they're doing that, that's what people must like. So how do we take that, dog videos, cat videos, whatever it is, and how do we create something in a professional manner that they want to pass around? I don't understand why this concept is so difficult for people to grasp. I mean, it's really beyond me.
So wait, you're saying that what you think is going on primarily is that the BuzzFeeders, apart from their analysis of their own data, which is really an after-the-fact exercise, right? Once they publish it, they can evaluate their data, but before they publish it, they've got to evaluate the same thing the rest of us have. You're saying that they essentially take whatever the memes are in the internet and riff on it, create a video that constitutes that riff, and then evaluates the data from there.
Exactly, and then then a little bit more data gives them a little bit more information on what turns people on. I mean, I think about it and I look at what they're doing and I look for a metaphor. I say, well, what are they what's going on? What's the value they're creating? It's simple. It's like, why were greeting cards so popular? Because some creative person was helping us cleverly express an emotion or helping us make someone laugh or turn them on. That's what these videos are accomplishing. It provides what is sometimes referred to as a social currency, something we can use to garner attention and make connections, and that's valuable to us.
Social currency. I think the that was what was he said one of the early quotes in here was that they wanted to be, I can't remember the term, a social something or other, but it was built on that concept. It's really a social currency is at the heart of what they're trying to create, and it's kind of both the inspiration and the outcome of what they're creating. But I wonder, so what lesson is there for those of us trying to, bring our brands to others, to market our stuff to others? I mean, what are we supposed to take from that we can use? Otherwise, we're just another platform, another BuzzFeed.
Well, it's to really do a deep dive into what people desire, what their beliefs are. And you do that by looking at their behaviors. That's what really all of this big data thing is all about. It's trying to make some type of predictions about what we should create, what we should produce, what we should send out into the world, because we have an idea that this is what people want. I remember a quote. Steve Jobs once remarked that when you're young, you look at television and you think, there's a conspiracy here. The networks are conspiring to dumb us down. He said, but when you get a little older, you realize it's not true. The networks are a business, and they're giving people exactly what people want, what they desire. That's what BuzzFeed is doing right now, and that's what everyone else in business should be focused on.
So as a business person, what are the best ways to kind of read that behavior? I mean, it's easy to browse the internet and talk to 40 people who, as the article says, live online. But in any other category, how do I kind of assess that behavior?
Watch what they're doing. I mean, see, that's what people, all of this talk about, people want this because they're talking about it. No, people want to talk about those things. If you want to see what people want, look at what they do. I remember someone, it was a crazy thing. There was some kind of big data thing that Walmart or someone was doing, and they found out that when tornadoes and hurricanes and severe weather are moving through particular parts of the country, a particular food on the shelves sells out like crazy. Can you guess what that is? Because I had absolutely no clue to that.
I have no idea what that would be.
Okay, it was Pop-Tarts. So,
see, I might have said mac and cheese because although I do love Pop-Tarts, I love mac and cheese more.
Aha, but see, and look, so here's the insight. So you look at the data and you say, why not mac and cheese? Why Pop-Tarts? Oh, you don't have to cook Pop-Tarts, so when the electricity goes out, you have a bunch of Pop-Tarts sitting there, right? So
I can absolutely attest you don't have to cook Pop-Tarts.
So it's looking for the insights. The insights are in people's behavior. That what they want is what they do.
You're listening to Media Unplugged with Tom Asacker and Mark Ramsey. Tom, topic 2, Netflix fires a bullet into the heart of theatrical distribution with their first ever self-produced original movie, a sequel to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Now, this comes from an article that you sent me from QZ.com, but it's all over the place. That article is called Netflix is Making an Original Movie, but It Won't Come Cheap. I have so much to talk about here, I don't know where to start. As you know, this is a particular interest of mine. Yep. The nub of it is this. Netflix is teaming up with the Weinstein Company, Harvey Weinstein and his brother Bob, people who are known for their taste, to create a sequel to the 2000 movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which includes some of the original cast, that part of the original cast that survived the original movie, right, and no doubt survived the negotiation for the sequel. So the idea is that this movie, which would release next year, will run on Netflix, of course, for free, and then will run on any IMAX theater that'll have it for a fee. Not surprisingly, the theaters are freaking out. I mean, does that surprise you at all?
Now, here we go again, right? Well, they're going to kill the theatrical window, the business model of that the theaters, that the movie theaters and the DVD sellers, everyone is in this game together, which is extract as much money in the distribution channel as possible from these movies. And the window's shrinking. What was it, 6 months? Now it's maybe a little under 4 months. I mean, a few things struck me. The article said that Netflix was out to save the movie business. Now, that's kind of funny, right? They're not trying to save the movie business. And it even said that they were going to disrupt. That's the big word. That will be the business buzzword of 2014. So they're out trying to disrupt the Hollywood business model, the release window model. And that's a stretch too. What they're trying to do is add more unique value to their offering, sign up more subscribers by giving people what they want, when they want it, how and where they want it. I mean, the venture capitalist Peter Thiel, he made it clear. Every business is successful exactly to the extent that it does something others cannot, or I would add, will not.
This goes back to your previous point too. I mean, they're simply tapping into the desire for what people ideally want, because the whole distribution window thing, the time between step 1, step 2, step 3 in the distribution process, that's an anachronism. That's an artificial construct overlaid on consumers by a variety of distribution channel forces which have their own economic interests at heart, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, if you think about it, if you look to the future of what the future of movies is, or movie consumption, it's going to kill some distribution channels. I mean, for example, so the staggered release schedule, that gives Walmart a window to profit from DVD sales. That's going to go away someday. But the fight right now is what? To hold on to those dollars, to maintain the present model. That's why the theater owners are fighting. And it's the same reason why the studios tried to kill the VCR when it was introduced.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't begrudge at all. I understand completely why the theater owners are freaking out over this. However, their attacks are really, I mean, you read some of the news releases, it refers to the movie as a direct-to-video release, which, as you know, is a phrase that dates to the 80s in VHS. I don't think it has the same resonance in an era when numerous things debut on numerous platforms. I've heard people complain about this, to describe it as a martial arts movie, as if to diminish it. People forget that the original Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was nominated for 6 Oscar awards, including Best Picture. It was directed by Ang Lee. Furthermore, Netflix and the Weinsteins are not hacks. They're both brands that are well known for their taste. And it's altogether possible that they have aspirations for this sequel that are as high as the aspirations that Netflix had for House of Cards and Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, and listen, you remember seeing the original movie, right? There will be a lot of people who want to see that on the big IMAX screen, right?
But they won't see it in the U.S. Here's my prediction. They will not see it on the big screen in the U.S. I think Netflix is going to be locked out of the U.S. That said, I find remember, Netflix only exists in the U.S. as a streaming company. It is inconceivable that they won't get distribution internationally for this. And needless to say, a quote-unquote martial arts movie plays very well internationally. They will get international distribution. And then domestically, let's think about the economics here. This is going to be roughly a $40-something million movie, which is not that much. Netflix is going to be in for half at most, with the Weinsteins and IMAX in for the other half. So we're talking $20 million, which is roughly the cost of 2 episodes of House of Cards. And if you consider the publicity value of that, the potential for them to generate new subscribers as a result of that, and to introduce people to other assets in their portfolio, I mean, it's such a no-brainer for them. So for Netflix, the value is obvious. I think, however, for the theater owners, this is the first crack in the wall, and that crack's going to get bigger. Some time ago, I talked to Peter Guber, the former head of Sony, and I asked him this question about, what's the future of distribution? And he answered with 3 words: day and date, day and date, day and date. Mm-hmm. And that, of course, is the idea that one movie releases on multiple platforms at the exact same time, and the differentiation across platforms is no longer time, it's price. So that the price on every platform is different according to whatever the market will bear. Now, this was before Netflix was in the television business, let alone the movie business. So I think Peter might have a slightly different answer now. But clearly, we're moving towards that world. And the theater owners like to argue that the experience of the theaters is so grand and compelling, that big screen is so awesome, that sound is so loud, that those chairs shake when you pay extra for them, that the idea of seeing this movie in the presence of many other beating hearts, some of them crying, is so attractive that people would never want to do without it. I think that a great deal of their benefit, if not all of it, has much more to do with that exclusive 3-month window than it does with any of that other stuff.
Well, I would agree. I mean, for many movies, I think there are certain movies that, you would want to see on that type of screen and in that type of environment. And so it depends. I think it comes down to choice. And I think Netflix was really smart here. I mean, I was sitting and I was wondering, I wonder if they anticipated this reaction by the theater owners, right?
I was thinking the same thing because, they're playing dumb. The IMAX CEO said, quote, "I knew it wouldn't work for some people."
Right. And then I started thinking about it, and I said, wow, are these guys smart? Okay, if it does get picked up by the theaters, right? So what are they thinking? Okay, in a word, it's really simple. It's genius. They're thinking comparison. Right? Because how do people make purchase decisions? They typically do a quick calculus that compares their options. So if you really want to see a movie like this, you might say to yourself, let's see, an IMAX ticket is, $13? Add in some snacks, I'm up to 20. How much is Netflix membership again? $8 a month? Maybe 10 when we get to next year when it releases?
Right.
So they look at it and say, okay, wait a minute, I get a free month for signing up, which means I really get 2 months of entertainment and this movie for the same cost as one IMAX movie, right? I think
that's exactly right.
Right.
I think that's exact, and that's why I think that they planned on this reaction. They actually hoped for this reaction because, quite frankly, Tom, if the movie plays in IMAX theaters in the U.S. and it's anything but a raging success, and it's likely to be anything but a raging success, then it's going to have that stain, that stink on it. And if it's refused by those IMAX theaters and other theaters in the U.S., then it can only win by Netflix's definition.
No, exactly.
And listen to some of these stats. I think they're also playing off some trends that some people may not realize. But, domestic movie box office sales are actually up a little bit from 2012 to last year. But as not everybody knows, the increase is largely a result of higher ticket prices and the cost of premium experiences like IMAX, because the number of tickets sold slipped between those 2 years, 1.5%. The number of tickets sold fell nearly 11% between 2004 and 2013. Box office revenue during that time increased 17%. So they're making more money off a smaller number of people. And oh, by the way, the tickets sold decreased 11%. The population of the U.S. is up 8%.
Yeah.
So it's becoming less and less of a relevant experience as time goes by. And I think the ability of even the movie studios to justify that as the premiere, the way to premiere their products is going to diminish. Really what this comes down to, the reason why that opening salvo in the movie theaters is so important is because it's an attention game. The movie studio publicity machine builds to one date, and that one date is the movie opening. Now, that one date could be some other experience. You could theoretically focus that attention on the date that it goes live on Netflix, couldn't you?
Well, yeah. Listen, those dates, you're right, of gaining attention. I think I don't remember which movie it was, but one of the studios pulled in the release window because they didn't want their movie to compete with the Olympics, right? So yeah, they know they're competing for eyeballs, just like everyone else is.
One last note on this: it was just announced, I think, the last day or so. Netflix announced, you may not have seen this, their second movie deal. Did you see this one?
No, which one was that?
The next 4 movies produced by and starring Adam Sandler.
Well, now that is really kind of a mistake. And I love Adam Sandler.
Maybe you haven't seen the grosses for Adam Sandler's last movie. You might think differently. Clearly, you're dealing with a guy there. This is not the same. This is not Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. You got a guy who's somewhat past his prime, to put it mildly. I mean, Adam Sandler in 2014 is like Chevy Chase in 2004. Yeah, but it does plant another flag, and it's another sign of what Netflix's intentions are. I think all in all, we're going to see more day and dates sooner rather than later.
Well,
okay.
and it's what the consumers want, right? I mean, what's the lesson? I think the lesson is the emergence of purple cows has a tendency to kill off cash cows. So
That's a great line.
Thank you.
That should have been the title of the podcast. Let's move on to rants and raves. Do you have a rant or a rave this week?
Can I rave and rant again?
Yes, you can do anything you want,
All right.
Tom. It's
Well,
your
listen,
podcast.
I've got a rave. And you mentioned some of the shows that you like, but I mean the quality of dramatic shows on television is just getting better and better and better. So I want to rave about that, but I've got a rant. Why do the networks have to jam them all in on Sunday night? Right? I mean, Game of Thrones, Boardwalk Empire, The Good Wife, The Walking Dead, Homeland, Mad Men, Breaking Bad. And this is right in the middle of Sunday night football, too. So, I mean, I get it. I know Sunday night is the most popular night of the week for TV. I know a third of the country tunes in on Sunday. But I think we're confusing maybe some cause and effect, right? Maybe we're all watching Sunday because all the great shows are on Sunday. So, and what are we supposed to do? What's a viewer supposed to do? I think they want us to record all of these shows and then watch them later. But what's later? During Monday Night Football?
Well, ideally within 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No, we're not going to do it because then we got Monday Night Football. And so I think audiences and networks have created some kind of expectation that Sunday night is the night for great television. And if the show isn't on then maybe we'll look at it and say, maybe there's something not quite right about it. But this is
it's not good enough. You're saying it's not good enough to be on Sunday night is what we're
Yeah, but listen, yes, it's convention. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of industry trade shows, of which I've been at a lot. And so what's the logic? It's this. Let's rent a big booth at the show. That's where everyone will be. We'll draw people in with pens and squeezy balls with logos on them. And here's the thing. If you don't see a particular company in one of the big booths, you start wondering what happened to them. It's the same thing. It's all perception. But this is the 21st century. Let's get creative. There are so many ways to reach out to people and get them to your show. I think it's time for the networks to consider how to draw people into their shows instead of relying on Sunday night to do it for them. Move a few to Tuesday. Take a leap of faith and try the dreaded Friday night death slot or something. Try something new. I mean, Mark,
well, after all, it wasn't that long ago that Thursday night was must-see TV, right?
Yeah, exactly. Listen, here it is. Mark Twain said, when you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. I think these people need to pause and reflect.
And Mark Twain, by the way, is a fan of The Blacklist, from what I understand.
Oh, really? He's still around. He watches that with Elvis.
He watches He loves James Spader. And you have that. Is that your rant or your rave?
I don't know.
Or is that
one.
a rant rave?
Listen, truth is, I don't really care what they do because I've maxed out on the number of shows I can watch anyway, so they can do whatever they want.
I got to move on to mine because I have this uncanny ability to find these delicious rants, and I found another one this week. So let's go back in time. The iPhone 6 was announced on September 9th, right? Mm-hmm. 2 weeks later, the great Joan Rivers made a post on her Instagram/Facebook, and the post was referencing her previous iPhone before this one, and it went like this. This badass is being replaced by an iPhone 6, not the fat one. I got this one in 2010, and after 4 years, my only complaint is that apps are now designed for bigger screens, and the battery's getting tired. Never had a case for it since it was the most beautiful on its own. Great achievement in design. Great product. Now,
when was this?
You're getting a step ahead of me. So
okay.
The phone is announced September 9th. 2 weeks later, this hits Joan's Facebook page. Now, you can guess the problem with this whole story, right?
Well, she died a week before the iPhone came out.
She died 5 days before the phone was announced.
Unbelievable.
So, and here's what's funny about this. And, of course, they pulled it right away. But as you know, if you Google best practices in social media, if you talk to any of the social media experts, any of the gurus out there, what do they all tell you? They tell you the critical importance of being honest, of being real, of being informal, of being
transparent.
Transparent, yes. Of being human. They stress these attributes to you time after time after time. And then you see a post like this and you realize that this is not unusual. That there is, as you know, Tom, an entire industry built around essentially fake authenticity. And that this post is just the tip of that iceberg, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what is authenticity? We can get into a whole show of that one, right?
Well, I mean, you can Google online how to buy access to Kim Kardashian's Twitter feed. It is for sale. Anybody who thinks that Kim Kardashian's posts are any more real than a reality show needs to have their head examined. So it's just funny that such a thing like this was just so flagrantly obvious, such a flagrant violation of the very precepts that social media is built on.
Yeah, probably crossed the line just a little bit, into the other realm almost, I guess.
That is, it's literally
right.
from beyond the grave.
Right.
That's Media Unplugged for this week. Please remember to subscribe to us at iTunes or on Stitcher. And while you are there, please rate the show. It helps other folks discover us. You can follow the great Tom Asacker at Tom Asacker and Mark Ramsey at Mark Ramsey Media. Send us your questions and your comments using hashtag Media Unplugged. And, of course, if there's a media topic you want us to cover, tweet us. You can read the show notes and share the show at our website, MediaUnplugged.net. Special thanks to the new producer of Media Unplugged, Jeff Schmidt. The great Jeff Schmidt, exciting audio from media. You can find him at jeff-schmidt, SCHMIDT.com. For the fabulous Tom Asacker, I'm Mark Ramsey. Thanks for listening.